Now comes on to the next part, the folding of the hands versus the opening of the hands. Now this is a bit of an important one, so I'd like your attention. Folding of the hands, opening of the hands, right, when you pray. So they say that after the declaration of prophethood, our prophet didn't become a prophet at 40, as some people believe, na'udhu billah. He just declared his prophethood at 40. And he died at what age? 63. Which means what? So for 23 years, the prophet prayed every single day, 5 times a day, in front of the Sahaba Ikram. So if you just do a quick maths calculation, 5 times a day, 365 days a year, times that by 23 years, that's over 700,000 times the Prophet prayed in front of the Sahaba. And even today you don't know whether he folded his hands, whether he closed his hands, whether सीने ते आटा, whether नाफ दे उत्ते थल्ले किथे, you don't know. 7 lakh बारी ना पढ़ी है सामने. They don't know. So they say that even within Sahih al-Bukhari, volume number 4, book 56, hadith 664, Aisha narrated that I don't like, or I hate the one who prays with his hands on his side or his flanks while praying. She says, I, not the Prophet, not Allah, not the religion, I dislike and hate the one who opens his hands and puts them on his flanks while he's praying his prayer. What that means is, now we know who you're following, right? If Allah and the Quran and the Prophet are praying a certain way, and somebody else is saying, I don't like people who open their hands, and then you don't, you're not from the Prophet, and are you? The Prophet's ordering you to pray in a certain way, and you're not. You're not following that messenger. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has given 2 examples of folding hands. And He's giving a negative connotation to folding of the hands. First one, chapter 9, Surah Tawbah, verse 67. Allah says the hypocrites close their hands. Right? The hypocrites close their hands. Then in the Quran, in Surah Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse says what? He says the Jews say Allah's hands are tied up. And then Allah threatens them back by saying, be their hands tied up. So these 2 examples show that there's a negative connotation towards folding of the hands in worship. Because when you do Hajj, when you give Zakat, when you do any of the other Furu'id Deen, Allah has never ordered you to close your hands or to fold your hands, has He? So why would you want to bring it up in namaz? There's no basis or nexus that the Prophet ever folded his arms in prayer. Never. I will prove that now. Well, you know within the Ahl Sunnah there's 4 schools of thought. Yes, as we mentioned, Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali. All 4 disagree about where to put your hands. 700,000 times the Prophet prayed in front of the Sahaba, and the Sahaba have 4 different ways that he prayed. Fir Ahle Hadith and that's 5 different ways. What are the ways? Hanafis, what do they say? That they say the right hand has to be over the left hand and the arms have to be below the navel. The Hanbalis say that the right has to be on the left and the both hands need to be below the navel. The Shafi'is say that the both hands have to be below the chest but above the navel. The first 2 under the navel, second one above the navel. The Malikis say no, don't even fold your hands. They say open your hands and pray the way the Shias pray. And the Ahl Hadith say what? Or the Ahlul Hadith say what? Folding of the hands and placing them around the navel is a Bidah. Place the hands on your chest. So even within your own school of thought, you can't decide where the hands go. So don't criticize our namaz, because we will prove to you the Prophet prayed the way the Shias pray. So they can't decide where to place their hands. So if you look at the translation of Furu al-Qafi, which is known as Al-Shafi, volume 2, page 65, and Man La Yahdaru al-Faqih, volume 1, page 166, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam has said that whenever he used to pray, he used to remove contacts between his hands. His hands weren't in contact with each other, and he used to place them on his thighs. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam used to open his hands and place them on his thighs. And you know within the Sunnis I mentioned there's 4 schools of thought. 3 of them fold, 1 doesn't, right? The one who doesn't are the Malikis. Just to mention why, the other 3, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Hanbali, they were from out of Medina. You understand this point? They were from out of Medina. Imam Malik lived within Medina. So what that means is Imam Malik saw the companions, the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, the Taba Tabi'een, those who followed the followers of the Sahaba. He saw them pray. So his justification for opening hands in Salah is that I lived in Medina and I saw those who saw the Prophet and they all opened their hands. The reason the other three fold their hands is because these guys didn't live in Medina, they lived on the outskirts of Medina. So they couldn't see how the Sahaba and the Tabi'een prayed. Therefore they have innovated namaz and have changed the Salah of Rasulullah. But Malik was the only one who stuck with the opening of the hands. Moving on, Wasail al-Shia, volume 7, page 267. Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, so earlier, watch what Imam Ali said. He said in Wasail al-Shia, volume 7, page 267, Amir al-Mu'min, he said, the Muslim shall not fold his hands while he is standing in front of Allah during his prayer. So now one person is saying, I don't like people who open their hands and pray. And Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying the Muslim should not fold his hands and pray in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who do you follow? Where do you take your religion from? Amir al-Mu'mineen raised by the Prophet, given knowledge by the Prophet, taught only by the Prophet. No one else taught Amir al-Mu'mineen. His only ustad was Rasulullah. And Rasulullah's only ustad was Allah. So this is divine knowledge. He's saying open your hands. Someone is saying, I don't like people who open their hands. So you follow who you want to follow. We'll follow Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah. We also see that there is a scholar within their school of thought by the name of Ibn Manzar. He was the teacher of Bukhari who wrote Sahih Bukhari. He states, as recorded in Nail al-Awtar, volume 2, page 203, and it's narrated in Al-Awn al-Ma'bud, Shar' of Sunan Abi Dawud, volume 2, page 322. What does it say? This is the Sunnis' most authentic books teacher. Bukhari, the most authentic book. They believe that Bukhari is only second to the Quran. They believe that there is no Da'if Riwayat in Bukhari. They believe that Sahih Bukhari, it's called Sahih Bukhari because they believe it's 100% authentic. There's nothing in there that is unauthentic. I'm not going to today, but I can show you things in Bukhari that if I was to narrate them to you, you would touch your ears and do Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. But this is the most authentic book for them. The person who wrote your most authentic book, his teacher Ibn Manzar, is saying there is no proven tradition from the Holy Prophet in regards to folding of the hands. MashaAllah. At all. No proven tradition. Where do you get them from? Your most authentic books are saying the Prophet didn't do this. Their teachers are saying the Prophet didn't do this. Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying the Prophet didn't do this. The Ahlul Bayt are saying the Prophet didn't do this. But you're adamant. No, we're going to pray like this. So there's an example in our language where they say opening of the hands is your way of saying that I've got nothing to hide. Opening of your hands is to say, when they want to hide a knife or a blade or a weapon or something like that, so they don't see it. So then we move on. That the teacher said that there's no proven tradition at all that the Prophet folded his hands. And we look at the Musnad of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, volume 5, page 93, hadith number 20,905. The Prophet said to a companion by the name of Ja'bi bin Samara or Samara, he said to him, and this is the important point, why do you fold your hands in prayer as the tails of horses? That the Prophet stopping someone from folding his hands. So you can't say that he folded them if he's stopping people from doing that. And also the folding of the hands, as narrated in Al-Kafi by Kulaini, volume 3, page 336, he says, folding of the hands is a habit of the magicians, the Majusi, and the fire worshippers.